And now, for personally, what influenced you in the metal industry or bands, or it doesn't have to be metal, it could be other type of music. What made you with that Barbarian, or what made you make Lords of Trident where it is today?
Yeah, so you know, on the music side of things, I was a real latecomer to metal. I actually only got into metal because Aki, aka Asian Metal, in the band, and I were roommates, and he'd play it all the time, and I'd be like, "Oh, what's that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Judas Priest." I'm like, "Oh, it's kind of cool." And he's like, "What's that?" "Oh, it's Iron Maiden." "Oh, I like this." You know, I was more in the kind of like alternative rock and grunge kind of stuff. But you know, outside of that, I listen to all sorts of different stuff. I'm actually I've been working with a doctor of voice in Madison on opera for about a year now. I'm doing vocal lessons and just kind of learning how to sing opera. That's been really fun. Awesome. I love Pavarotti. Just absolutely incredible voice there. And I'm all over the board in terms of influences, but in terms of like singing influences, Pavarotti and Dio, like, oh god, Dio is like hands down one of the coolest. I really love Jorn Lande's voice. I mean, you know, and then Hansi, of course. I mean, like, you know, but yeah, musically, I'm all over the board. I listen to a lot of different things and a lot of stuff. A lot of it in the power metal world, a lot of it in, you know, opera. I love a lot of like electronica stuff. You know, really the only thing I don't listen to a lot of is probably more like, you know, pop and country. But outside of that, I tend to kind of dip my toe into a lot of the musical area. So in terms of like the look of the band and the whole Barbarian aspect of it, you know, before Lords of Trident, I was in an alternative rock band, and we played around. It was during college. We played around a lot, and the one thing that struck me when I was in this band is like we played with, I don't know, 50, 60 other bands from all over, you know, not just local bands, but all over. And honest to God, I couldn't name one. If you put them in a lineup, right, and said, okay, what band is that? What band is that? What band is that? I'd be like, they're all interchangeable to me. They all wore jeans and t-shirt. There was nothing like visually that separated them, you know. And so for me, someone who was new to the metal community, and I'm sure you can understand, like, metal itself is a very polarizing word. If somebody says I like metal music to somebody who's not in the community, you know, or doesn't know how broad metal is.
Yeah, like I said, because, you know, for the metal industry, you got 8, 9, you know, whatever different sectors. You know, you got your
black metal, death metal, thrash metal, industrial power metal, hair metal. I mean, it's everything. Yeah. You know, and you could play something. You could play hair metal for like somebody who didn't know that was metal, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's the stuff I listen to on the radio." They don't understand that they already like metal. So if you tell that person, "Oh, I listen to metal," what they're thinking is like you're listening to like, ah! You know, like pointy guitars, angry at their dad, you know, spikes everywhere, and you're like, you know, oh, there's so much more to metal than just, and not that is bad, but like people who are not in the community can get turned off by that very easy. So my thought was, okay, if we're going to be a metal band, we should A, have our stage show be as good as our music, and B, we should do something that if somebody saw a poster of us, you know, and saw us all in our armor and costumes and stuff like that, that they would say, man, you know, I don't care what these guys sound like. I want to go see, like, it's clear they're putting on an amazing show. I want to go see, like, what this looks like, you know. And we've actually had a lot of people come in just for the show, and then realize, like, oh wait, this is considered metal. We're like, yeah, and they're like, I think I really like metal. You know, that's a real great compliment we've had many times. So, you know, that's kind of where that stems from. Just a want to kind of, you know, reach out to people who, you know, maybe non-metalheads who don't know they like metal yet. You know what I mean? Because that was me. Like, I was a non-metalhead, and I didn't realize that I really loved metal until somebody sort of reached out and was like, oh, this is Iron Maiden, this is Judas Priest, this is Blind Guardian, and I'm like, man, all this fucking rules. Like, this is great, you know. And then I think I'm into metal now, you know.
Cool. And if for all the Charlotte bands, I know we stick to a lot of that metalcore, deathcore. which is great. But it'd be cool to see Charlotte, North Carolina, or the Carolinas to do like a barbarian type of metal.
Yeah.
Something unique and different to make the metal scene grow more in the Carolinas.
Well, I'll tell you what, you guys are, from what I've seen down here, from one of the bands that I've seen come out of just North Carolina in general, you guys, I think, from my perspective, have a wealth of really, really, really good bands down here. In Wisconsin, we don't have quite as many bands where I would say like, oh, these bands could play with us, and like it would fit really well. Mega Colossus, Nightmare, Walpurgis, Twisted Tower, Dire. I mean, like the list goes on and on and on. So like I'm envious of the North Carolina scene. Every time we come down here, it's like, oh man, we're gonna play with all these amazing bands, and then bring the North Carolina bands up to Madison. It's like it's just us. Sorry, because we basically have us and like death metal, and that's about it.
And we have a good metal. We have a good metal scene.
Yeah.
You might not have it on the Nuclear Blast labels, labels are labels, but I was on there touring and bringing the music into the Carolinas and going on tour. That's as we keep growing and growing in these two states.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you guys have a lot to be proud of here, and I think there's a lot of amazing bands that I'd love to see. I actively try to pull from the North Carolina crowd to come up for my festival. I know I've seen a lot of representation from this area in like Legions of Metal and the NYDM Metal Fest in Milwaukee. We got a lot of North Carolina bands there, and it always warms my heart a little bit, because it's like, oh yeah, you guys are out represented. That's really great. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to add on?
Yeah, I would like to let everybody know who's watching this that we also run a festival called Mad with Power Fest, and I actually have the shirt on right now. Mad with Power Fest is up in Madison, Wisconsin. 2020's Mad with Power Fest is on August 14th and 15th. And what we do is we take a real big, giant venue, 400, 500 capacity venue. We line all of the walls with free play arcade and pinball games. We try to pull in classics. We try to pull in rare stuff. So we got a whole big giant arcade. Awesome. And then we have 2 days of amazing power metal, heavy metal, traditional metal from all over the country. It's my favorite time of year. It's so much fun. We've got a real big, awesome headliner coming this year that I can't talk about yet because we haven't finished signing all the paperwork. But it's gonna blow everyone's mind. Awesome. I know it's gonna be great. Nightmare is going to be there, right, from North Carolina. We've got Dire Peril coming. We've got us, and we got Paladin, who played here at Rapid Fire Fest, coming as well. So, and there's one more band I can announce that's kind of sort of in the area that I will announce very soon on the again, we got to sign all the paperwork and stuff.
Cool. And then now is it just more power metal for the festival, or is it all genres?
So what we try to do with Mad with Power is, in general, we keep it more towards like the power and traditional side. Thrash is totally fine too. I like to try to keep it more for like clean vocals.
Awesome.
Awesome. So we're not really booking like death or grindcore or like gent or anything like that. Right now. But I will say, it's a heavy metal festival. It's also like an arcade and pinball festival. So if there's a band that is really heavy into like the nerd scene, like for instance, Deathlehem from Pittsburgh would be a band that I would book, easily. And I know they're coming out with a brand new album very soon. Even though they're a little bit more on the death metal side, I think they work well with us. Or we played with them many times, but I think Awesome. They work well with the fest. So yeah, a little bit more towards like the clean vocal side of metal.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Nice. Well, this is Ty from Lord of Trident. Check their music out on their webpage.
Yep, lordsofthetrident.com, facebook.com/Lords of the Trident. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on MySpace for some reason. I don't know why. And absolutely 100% check out patreon.com/Lords of the Trident. That is the #1 way that we stay afloat as a band. And we put just a crap ton of music and videos and posts and private pictures and everything up on the Patreon. So patreon.com/Lords of the Trident. Go there first.
Cool. Thank you, Ty.
Thanks, man. All right, great. That's great.
Oh.